everybody, and welcome to another video here on Philly Sports Network. This is the one you've been waiting for. It's taken me a while to put together. The article went out today, but the NFL trade deadline is approaching, and we're one result away from teams either going into full panic mode and fire selling everything, or trying to salvage any last bit of value they can in order to become a contender. We don't yet know whether the Eagles will be buyers or sellers. You can certainly make the case for both arguments, but what I have done is ravage through the trade rumors, scurry through all of the names and the smoke and the mirrors in order to bring you 5 moves that I would make if I was Howie Roseman, and I can't wait to hear what you guys are going to say. Some of you are going to hate me, some of you might love me, and some of you might have turned off by now, but you know, we move. If you're new around the channel and you haven't yet subscribed, it would be amazing if you could do so. We've got plenty of exciting things in the works, including a brand new podcast affiliation with PointsBet. We'll touch more on that in our podcast later this evening. If you're not subscribed to that, PSN Radio, you get podcasts from me and all of our writers at PSN in one place. And if you are not in our Eagles group chat already, I don't know what you're doing. We're nearly at 350 of you at this point, which is a madness considering we only started this a few weeks ago. Flick Sports is the app to download. PSN Eagles Nation, the chat to join, where you can talk to me and nearly 350 other Eagles fans, get to make new friends, participate in competitions, giveaways, and so much more. The link is in the description. Flick Sports is the app. PSN Eagles Nation, I'll see you in there. Alright guys, let's get into the nitty gritty. The first move I will make as Howie Roseman will be trying to prepare for a probable life after Zach Ertz. I feel the writing is on the wall for Ertz at this point. Contract negotiations broke down. Ertz came out to the media and said he wanted to be in Philadelphia, but doesn't really know if the feeling's mutual. And then he puts out a despondent, a dissociated, a disappointing, any other words beginning with this, season where he had 178 yards on 24 catches. That just isn't good enough for someone that was setting franchise records not too long ago, that was mentioned over and over again in the same conversation with George Kittle and Travis Kelce. All he did this year was further the gap and prove Roseman right. Now, was this because he was upset, because he was angry, his mind was elsewhere? Absolutely, I think you can make that argument, but will the Eagles be able to rectify this? Turns out there were 2 AFC outfits apparently in the market for Zach Ertz before he was placed on IR. The Eagles declined them, put in there anyway, which at least said the offers weren't good enough, so we're just going to stash him away. But is the writing on the wall? Is there going to be life after Zach Ertz? He's got 1 more year on his contract. Will the Eagles trade him before then? I don't know. But if in their heads, their mind is made up, then this move makes sense. They're going to get David Njoku from the Cleveland Browns, a former first-round pick who, after an explosive 2018 season, has been hampered by injuries. He's struggled a lot. I mean, even this year, he's had a knee injury and only has 83 receiving yards on 7 catches because of it, which is still, you know, rivaling Ertz a little bit. The thing is that the Browns picked up his option, which was all well and good, and then they signed Austin Hooper and drafted Harrison Bryant. So I don't really know what the logic was there, but either way, Njoku is now in a bit of a weird situation, and if he can't fit in and the Browns are perfectly fine with Bryant and Hooper running the show, then why would they keep hold of Njoku, who clearly has starting potential? I think the Eagles could get him in for Alshon Jeffrey and a 5th round pick. Now, why Alshon Jeffrey? Hey, the Browns have $31 million in cap space, so what better way to use it than taking on a head case, right? That's the Browns way. Secondly, their wide receiver depth is minimal. Behind Rashard Higgins, behind Donovan Peoples-Jones, there isn't much depth there at all. And with Odell Beckham now out after what is another heartbreaking injury, if this Browns team is going to make the playoffs, they need an insurance policy. And if they do not have a long-term option, if they do not have a reliable go-to receiver on that right side for Baker Mayfield, then I think they're going to struggle. And all it takes is 1 more injury and the Browns' postseason hopes begin to diminish gradually, and they can't let that happen. The Eagles could also probably toss them a 5th round pick as if to say, thank you for taking on Mr. O'Shaughnessy. We don't want him anymore. Since you're doing us a favour, have a late round pick.
Your mama a house. Go buy your whole family houses.
Trade number 2, we bring back a familiar face in Jordan Howard, someone that has been a healthy scratch in Miami for 2 weeks after signing a 2-year, $9 million contract. What has happened to him? I don't know. He's got 18 yards and 3 touchdowns, which is great, but he is clearly being outshone by Myles Gaskin and Matt Breida, and he's left sort of in the rubble. He is like the shadow of his former self. He hasn't looked very good at all, and the Eagles may well be able to poach him for a late round pick here, and maybe a pumpkin spice latte. Now, I would have personally gone with Jannard Avery in this situation. I think that the Dolphins, outside of Emmanuel Ogbah, could use a pass rusher. Avery wasn't being used. He's got that hybrid linebacker to defensive end type personality. He would have fit Brian Flores very nicely, and then he ended up on IR. So it's a late round pick for Jordan Howard. I think this should be relatively attainable. Miami get the cap hit off their books. They get a draft pick to further build around Tua, and the Eagles get back a running back who can really hit the hole hard. Hit those holes that maybe aren't there anymore. As much as I love Miles Sanders, he has been known to be indecisive. Boston Scott is great in flurries, and we haven't seen anything from any other running back on the roster. Jordan Howard is a decisive, doesn't care whether it's a home run here or whether he grounds out. He is hitting that hole regardless. The Eagles need that physicality up the trenches, especially on third down. I would love to see it. Third trade, the Eagles are going to get rid of Vinny Curry and a 6th round pick. Now, I know this is a bit tricky given the defensive end depth with Avery not being there now, so it's probably not that likely to happen, but you can speculate as much as you want. Linebacker Foyesade Olakun and offensive guard James Carpenter are the 2 players they get in return. Now, Olakun, I absolutely love. I think he's got 2 years left on his rookie contract, has had a great year so far. 15 games of starting experience already as a former 6th round pick, and he's a brilliant coverage linebacker. He's quick in open space, he reads the quarterback well, unlike Nate Gary, and now that the Eagles have lost Nate Gary to IR, they really need a coverage linebacker. He's got 55 tackles on the year, he's forced 4 turnovers, he shouldn't cost too much to get hold of. If the Falcons are going to sell, this would be a really good player to target. It's a young linebacker. We know that Roseman seems to love those young, low-round guys that aren't going to cost too much, but hopefully have a high upside. I think Olakun's a great fit for this system. He's speedy, he's productive, and would be a brilliant replacement for Nate Gary. Just enough for Schwartz to go, oh wow, maybe Gary is bad. Meanwhile, James Carpenter, he's 31 years old and has allowed 1 sack in 507 snaps. Now, why would the Falcons get rid of him? To free up nearly $4 million in cap space. They've only got nearly $3 million available in total. They need some kind of flexibility to carry over to next year. So they might be willing to sell someone of that heavier cap hit stature. And behind them, they do have Matt Hennessy, who, while drafted as a center out of Temple, could have some versatility at guard. They might want to ride him for half a year, see what they have, and judge the situation after. So they shave money, can try out their rookie they've just drafted, and in return they get an edge rusher who's sorely needed and a 6th round pick. I think, to me, that makes sense. Trade number 4, they're going to go after another linebacker. The Eagles targeting Avery Williamson and a 6th round pick, and will give up JJ Arcega-Whiteside in order to get them. How he calls up his old pal Joe Douglas, knowing fully well the Jets are in full tank mode. They've gone. The season's done. There's no point bothering. They've got the 4th most cap space in the NFL. It is worth trying to really extract as much value as you can right now. Now, Williamson is still 28 years old. He's really only entering his prime, which fits that Howie Roseman prototype nicely. We know that he's coming off a torn ACL, but had barely missed any time in his 5 years before that, and at this point is having a really good year. 50 tackles on the year, a PFF grade of 59, but he has been one of the few bright spots in what is a terrible Jets defense. And why JJ Arcega-Whiteside? Well, the Jets could use a wide receiver right now, and if J-Drill was a Joe Douglas draft pick, then who else is going to see that value more than someone that really tried to funnel him into Philadelphia? If Douglas believes Arcega-Whiteside could be something special, he's already got Denzel Mims on the other side. It's a low-risk, high-reward player with someone that has got a few years left on his contract at the end of the day. He's only in his 2nd year. Could benefit the change of scenery now that the Eagles have literally got his clone in Travis Fulgham, who is playing 10 times better. So there is no need to keep Arcega-Whiteside around. He'll feel a bit demotivated. He's not getting game time. Get him to New York, change of scenery, chance to win out a starting role on a bad team. He'd kind of benefit from that. If they don't want to give up Williamson, then Howie comes a knocking again for Pierre Desir. Now, I used to love Desir with the Indianapolis Colts. I thought he was a fantastic cornerback, but since going to the Jets, He's been bad, but he has been lined up as a CB1, and I don't think he's a CB1. In my opinion, he's a CB2, but the big thing here is that he's 6'1". The Eagles have no corners outside of Darius Slay over 6 foot, which means if Maddox struggles outside, Nikel Roby-Coleman's been terrible, Jalen Mills has been, there is no one. There is no one else who can play CB2 and take on those speedy receivers. Desir has already proven he's still valuable around the catch point. He's got 3 interceptions on the year. And again, low risk, high reward. He was signed on a 1-year prove-it deal. The Eagles aren't trying to find a long-term option at corner. This is a very much plug-in cornerback who can be productive at the catch point and just hold the fort while Darius Slay takes the WR1. Maybe float Avonte Maddox inside and cut Nikel Roby-Coleman. And then you've got Avonte Maddox and Strap as your nickel corners. I don't see that being the worst thing in the world. So that will be an avenue I explore, but obviously getting Desir for J-Jaw is a steal, so the Jets will throw in a 4th round pick as well, which I think makes perfect sense. That's fair, right? A 4th round pick and a corner who has been burned all year long in New York. Why not? But what do you think, guys? Let me know down in the comments section below, and of course in our Flick Sports Eagles group chat app. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. We'll be back soon, and hopefully with some positive news surrounding the trade deadline.